Hey y'all, this is Marley K. Hope everybody is well. Want to share this story with you about Haiti. Um, Haiti is being destabilized for a number of reasons. First and foremost, it was the first. Haitians were the first people to rebel against slavery, fight the oppressor, and win. And they have been made to pay, literally and figuratively pay for that freedom since. And they are paying France and they have to pay America. So it's a destitute nation, and it's kept that way intentionally so that they can keep us divided with all these other nations. So there's a conspiracy and a confederacy against us. These other island territories, which are also likely Israelites. They were placed there during the transatlantic slave trade, but they're from different tribes, and so America has kept us away from all these other groups of people. They've made it so they don't want to. They didn't necessarily want to come here, and we didn't want to go to them. So in the process, over time, they've discovered, they being the powers have discovered how wealthy that island is, and so they keep it destabilized so that they can, keep the people in chaos, keep the people begging for outside intervention, keep the people poor and starving and living in squalor. They have a lot of classism, which is a byproduct of white supremacy. The lighter folks get the jobs in restaurants and get to go to school and are wealthier than the darker complexioned Haitians. So there's this whole a bunch of crazy dynamics going on. But a couple of years ago, like during the pandemic, the leader that was had appointed by America and I guess their allies was assassinated. And so they just recently said that the wife did it and set the man up. And so the wife, once she survived, they didn't kill her. And she was flown to Miami. And then all of a sudden now she did it a couple of years later. They got to blame somebody. And so now here we are again with the next prime minister of Haiti facing calls to step down or be yeeted because of the unrest. And now them folks say, Haiti gang leader threatens civil war if the prime minister doesn't resign. So I'm not on the ground there. I can't tell you every little intricate thing that is going on. But what I can say is they're going to always make Haiti a place where Black folks of any ilk don't want to go because they don't want you to have that spirit of rebellion placed on you, in you. They don't want you to get a taste of it, so you might fight your oppressor when you go back home. So it's constantly going to be destabilized. It is constantly going to be poor, and you're constantly going to have people who govern themselves in ways that are not necessarily helpful to the people, doing things to destabilize even more, because that's just how life happens. Somebody got to try to keep order when there is no order, and when your leaders are corrupt, your leaders are being placed there so they can do the bidding of the powers that be. They're selling out the people. It's just a really bad situation, but that's what happens when you're in the Western Hemisphere and you got no weapons, and you're sitting right underneath a nation that can do almost anything they want to, overtly and covertly, and nobody cares. So between America and France, they've really kept this nation destabilized, and the people over there are suffering. We need to pay attention to this, because if African American people are needed to flee, they're going to make sure that we don't flee to Haiti. Now, that's just my own personal assessment, is that they don't want us to come together with any of these other groups, because if we wake other people up and tell them they should be tired of their leaders and start doing some of the same stuff, then hey, it could be a problem. But the powers that be know how to keep us submissive and quiet and lost and turned out and confused. And so that's kind of what's happening now. So it says, let's see. So it says the gang leader behind the violent blighting, the gang leader behind the violence blighting the Haitian capital has warned there will be civil war if Haiti's Prime Minister Ariel Henry does not step down. Jimmy Barbecue Cherizier. I'm probably not. Cherizier. I don't know if I'm saying that properly, so I apologize. Made the threat as members of his gang tried to seize the capital's airport to stop Mr. Henry from returning from abroad. Unrest has spread to other cities, with a prison riot reported in Jacmel. Thousands have been displaced by violence. Barbecue, who leads the powerful G9 gang alliance, said on Tuesday that if Ariel Henry does not resign, we'll be heading straight for the civil war that will lead to genocide. The G9 alliance has unleashed a wave of violence, including attacks on police stations and storming the country's two main prisons. Thousands of inmates escaped in a mass jailbreak on Saturday. Now, let me tell y'all something about this part. You can bet the powers that be have a hand in this. They want these people from Haiti who are breaking out of these prisons and people who are desperate to come here. You know why? Because they're going to tear this thing down. Folks are going to be here terrorizing other people because, you know, outside of your other little racial dynamics, folks tend to stay in their own communities, and we could kind of maybe deal with each other to some extent as this collapse continues. But when you add other criminals from other places who do not care anything about American citizens, they don't care about black people, they definitely don't care about white people, they don't care about American culture, American laws, they don't know the laws, just like these Venezuelan gangs and all these other Mexican cartels. Y'all talking about finna be some trouble? It's finna be some trouble. And black people, y'all gonna have to step up. I know y'all don't like the war with y'all hands, but y'all gonna have to defend yourselves. White people, good luck to you. Y'all is associated with a group that unfortunately has tore the whole world up, and ain't nobody got no mercy for you. So, when you're talking about these other groups that are coming here from these prisons, they have a plan to destabilize this entire nation, or as many of these big cities as they can, so that so that we will be so ready for help. We'll be crying out for it. And when they flip the switch and cut the lights back on, cut the internet back on, and give you some groceries because you didn't prepare, because you need some medicine because your arm falling off, because you need some water, because the water treatment systems in the majority of these places are not going to be working. The water going to be contaminated. It's going to be just chaos everywhere. People won't be getting any benefits. There won't be food stamps. There won't be Social Security. There won't be pensions if you get a government pension. Nothing is going to be working. So, again, if you're not prepping, I don't know what to tell you, excuse me. But besides that, these people that are coming here are not going to be the best and brightest. It's going to be just like when Cuba sent people here from Cuba back um, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, not Cuban Missile Crisis, but when Fidel Castro took over and they had the coup. People were trying to escape because he basically overthrew the wealthy who were taken from the poor people and instituted a socialist system. But he sent the not so good people to America. So you have these huge Cuban enclaves of either criminals or rich people, or upper middle class, fairly wealthy people, or wealthy people. They left because they were not in power. So a lot of these countries that are sending people here and people are coming here, they're not the best people. And so America is not going to ever be the same again. We are going to be overrun with a bunch of people, criminals, rich people who act like the rich people who are here. And they have a side of racism with them. And they stick together like we don't. Black people are just outnumbered. Just go ahead and say it. But not only that, everybody is going to be less safe because these people are going to be crossing the border. They're going to be claiming, asylum, and there's nothing stopping anybody from coming here now. So they did the same thing in Venezuela. They emptied a couple of prisons, sent the people here. Here's another story. So it's going to be happening over and over and over again. You're just going to get a bunch of people here coming across the border illegally out of prison. What are you going to do? You better be prepared to handle your business. That's what I'm going to say. All right. So it says Haiti has been blighted by gang violence for years, but while Prime Minister Henry was on a visit to Kenya last week, barbecue escalated the violence. Mr. Henry was aiming to agree, I guess, to a deal for Kenya to lead a multinational police operation to quell the violence in Haiti. So notice that Kenya is chosen for whatever reason to lead these multinational efforts. I brought you the story the other day about the UN moving their population fund to Nairobi, Kenya. Now Kenya is going to be the police. It will send black Kenyans over to police their brothers over here in Haiti. So you see how white supremacy plays us against each other all the time. And we can't get right because they stay in our business. We can't get right because they always mess with our resources. We can't get right because they're always appointing stuff and strategically grooming raccoons to go against the people who are trying to fight for change. And so as long as this earth has those people, and I know there are some good Gentiles, but those types of people, we're in trouble. We're not going to ever, there won't be any peace on earth. So the Most High is going to have to come back and destroy this earth. He can't let it stand. All these places where these children of the corn are going to be destroyed. They think they're going to flock to Africa and take over and run that. It's not going to go down the way that they think it is. So, all these nations jockeying for the continent of Africa, I think that's setting up for the battle of Megiddo, Armageddon, or whatever, the final battle. But in the meantime, they're going to keep the rest of the earth, wherever black people are living and just struggling already, they're going to keep those people in that same class as this new global order comes in. And we're going to be a class of deplorables, useless eaters, and they're going to try to take as many of us out as they can. And they will use our own people, whether it's out of desperation, whether it's out of a self-governance type of thing, or whether it is just raccoons sent among us to destroy us, we're going to be at the bottom. So you will want to be praying and crying out to the Most High to deliver you from all this evil and wickedness so that you can endure to the end. Because otherwise, we just ain't going to make it. It's too many things going on in the world that are so bad that we cannot even we can't even begin to imagine how bad they are. So it says barbecue fears Mr. Henry will use the forces to stay in power. So the gang leader has been opposed to excuse me, and excuse the noise. I have my window open, so there's something driving by very slow, a big truck or something. So it says the gang leader has been opposed to the prime minister since he took over power shortly after the assassination of President Jovenel Moise in July 2021 without an election. Critics of Mr. Henry argue his rule is illegitimate. They also point to the fact that 2.5 years after coming to power, he still has not organized presidential elections as he had originally promised. So you get now to the bottom of the article, it tells you why the people are pissed, because they didn't pick him. They don't want him. He was placed there. He's a placeholder. And then he is not doing what he promised to do and to give the people the leader of the opportunity to choose the leader that they want. And of course, that is the doing of the powers. So the people are pissed. They don't want him. They know that they have a flunky in the position, and that person is going to be stealing from them and doing the bidding of the powers. So this is what it's all about. And that's why they're going for government officials. That's why they're going to the airport, trying to take over the airport. That's why they're going to the police department and getting ready to do things to them. So it's all about, they don't like the government. They don't like what's happening, and they're trying to take over. But y'all know the spirit of the Haitians is they're about their life all the time. They don't mind. They're not like us. They understand what freedom is. They understand what fighting is. They don't have a problem cutting up to get folks, out. Unfortunately, because they are so poor, they don't have the resources and the structure to keep them out. They don't have the weapons. They don't have the things that they need. And America makes sure they don't get those things. They have more wealth than any other nation. They got plenty of oil offshore. Like, they have resources like Africa to sustain themselves if everybody would stay out of their business, but they don't. And then they don't have the money to get the oil out of the ground. They don't have the resources to develop the infrastructure to get the resources out of the ground, like the gold and all the other things. They have some valuable something, I can't remember what it is, but it's so valuable that it's almost priceless, and they can't access it because they don't have any money to set up the infrastructure. So it's just a game of chicken, a whack-a-mole. And unfortunately, our people all over the place are dealing with the same types of situations because of white supremacy. So it says the prime minister has not spoken publicly since the violence erupted. He has only retweeted the declaration of the state of emergency decreed by one of his ministers in his absence. So this is the other thing. All these nations are going to be having all these uprisings. Everybody going to have a state of emergency. Our Congress has extended its powers or proposed a new bill to extend state of emergency powers from, I think, 120 days to 270 days. I have to find it and read it to you. But what's critical about this is everybody's going into this state of emergency as we go into this season where they're getting ready to sign all these different treaties for what to do in the event there is a global emergency. And so you cannot forget about the story that I did about the UN and WHO. And as we go into these phases where we're going to have cyber attacks and all these other things happen, somebody's planning on seizing these powers. Somebody's planning on taking advantage of all these crises and all this chaos. So don't get it twisted. State of emergency should always raise the eyebrow. You should be paying attention to that because all these nations are in bed with the beast, and they are not our friend. Mr. Henry's whereabouts were unknown for days until late on Tuesday when he flew from New Jersey to the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico. Reports said he had planned to land in the capital of Port-au-Prince, but the airport remained closed due to the fighting nearby. The director of Civil Aviation Authority in neighboring Dominican Republic said he had denied Mr. Henry's plane permission to land in the country because it lacked a flight plan. Haitian media report that Mr. Henry is now seeking alternative routes back into the country. It is not clear what gang leader Barbecue's longer-term aims are. On Tuesday, he urged Haitians to unite. And see, this is what they don't want. Either Haiti becomes a paradise for all of us or hell for all of us, he told journalists, wearing a bulletproof vest. In the past, he has suggested creating a council of elders, a group of civil society representatives from different regions to replace the prime minister. And what people don't realize is this is how culturally Black people have always been. This is how we've governed ourselves. So this is not a new idea, but it's not democracy. It's not what the white people like because they think that's primitive. Although I don't know how they could think it's primitive because we have had governance before them. We taught them how to govern. We taught them how to watch. We taught them everything they know. And then they come back and tell us like they created the thing that they never knew how to do. They replicate everything that we do. And then, they'll tweak it or come up with something different and be like, oh, this is better. Well, we know what's better for us. And that, to me, this is a more natural community, people-centered way of governing their society because there are differences among us. And one thing about white people is that they want to acknowledge their differences, but they don't want to acknowledge or respect ours. And so of course, they're not going to agree to this and they be in the powers. But this is the suggested governance structure that the people want. Haiti has no elected government officials. No elections have been held since 2016 in the country. Can y'all, it's almost 10 years. This don't even make any sense. So why do you think this is so? This would not be tolerated in any other country. If it was a white nation, it would not happen. They'll do anything in these Black nations. They just don't care. But this is why the West is going to be judged. This is why Mystery Babylon is going to fall and be utterly destroyed. The thing that Babylon has done to other nations and other people is going to be done to them. So this is why they're going into captivity, and not for 400 years, for 800 years. They're going to get double the portion of what they did to us. What they've done to Haitians will be done to them. What they've done to us will be done to them. What they've done on the continent of Africa to Congolese and all these different Rwandans and all the backdoor stuff they've done, those things are going to be done to them. So if you're not repenting, Gentiles, you better be repenting. You better turn away from your wicked ways, and you better be trying to make amends for what you and your people have done, because you're going to get it. Wrath is coming. The vacuum created by the lack of elected officials has been filled by gangs who are estimated to control around 80% of the capital. Kidnappings for ransom are common, and many schools and hospitals have had to close due to the lack of security. Medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières said it had to temporarily suspend its mobile clinics in several sites. Let's see. It says, we fear we will run out of medicines and medical supplies, which are absolutely essential to meet the enormous needs we are facing at the moment. The head of the mission said, now, if folks will stop meddling in their business, they could have hospitals like everybody else. But you see how they like to do these missions. Missions. We're going to go over there and do a mission. I don't mind people doing charity, but the real problem is white people. Let's just call it what it is. And the fact that this country is being starved, they literally have to pay America and France like almost every penny that they get. So they can't build the infrastructure. Nobody has anything to say about that. Stop doing charity and talk about these people doing that. But they can't stop stealing and plundering other nations because that's what keeps them alive. And I've said it once and I'll say it again. If it was not for black people and black nations, white people could not survive. They don't realize how much of their lives, the things that they enjoy, come from the suffering and theft, suffering of and theft from black people and black nations. So, again, it's another reason to be repenting and asking for forgiveness, because you're rich because other people have to be poor. You're rich because they keep other people poor, other nations poor. You're rich because you steal resources that are not yours, and you're allowed to invest and come up with all kind of schemes and play in schemes that make you rich and keep other people poor. So this whole thing, all these nations that are going through this stuff, it's being exposed now. Now we just have to wait on the Most High to do His bidding, but it's not gonna go unjudged. Yah is not sleeping. So it says, violence has so far been mainly concentrated in the capital and its environs, whatever that means. But there have also been reports of shootings in the town of Jeremy in the southwest and a prison riot in Jacmel in the south. Here you go. The United Nations Security Council said it would hold an emergency meeting later on Wednesday to discuss the violence. According to the UN, some 15,000 people have been displaced by the conflicts. So the UN is wanting to get in on the fun. So anyway, this is going to be the model for what happens here. It's going to be civil unrest. It's going to be parts of the country that's not going to be able to be quelled. The UN going to come in and save the day. They're never going to leave. And our country will look like Haiti and other places that are considered third world countries, because we are intentionally being destabilized and intentionally being just devolving, period. They are divesting in this nation. They're destroying everything to make it uninhabitable, so that as many people will fight each other and perish as possible, so that they can meet their population agenda plans. So with that said, y'all keep an eye on Haiti for a number of reasons. One, because they are our brothers and sisters. Two, because they are providing us with a model of what this country is going to look like. Three, because the criminals that are over there are going to come across the border and do the same thing here. So we got to be aware of what's going on over there, understand how these other nations think, because they don't think like us. They're desperate. A lot of times, some of these people may be getting paid to come here and do stuff to American citizens, because, it is what it is. Nobody cares about us now. We've been sold out. So, I just want to let you know that we are trying our best to endure to the end, and just keep watch. Please make sure you are keeping abreast of what's going on everywhere, but pay attention to these nations that are, you know, in the Caribbean and South America, because those people are unleashing all sorts of things. Not things, people, all sorts of people, not the best people, to come across the border. And so that's going to impact us eventually, especially if you're in a large city. So share this information out. Make sure you are paying attention. Keep praying. Keep crying out to the Most High, because we need all the help we can get. All right, this is Marley K, and I'm out.